Chapter 6. Being an examination of why we can't simply stop fishing. Mitigate the destruction ever so little, and the number of species will almost instantaneously increase to any amount. Charles Darwin on the Origin of Species. It would seem that the simplest and surest solution to helping fish repopulate the oceans would be to just stop all fishing. After all, a complete end to fishing would remove a constant and important predator from the food chain. But while it might save the fish in the short term, we can't predict what the environmental impact of suddenly removing a major predator from the ocean would do to the Earth's natural order. Page 79. What's more, fish have been a staple of the human diet for hundreds of thousands of years. It is an extremely healthy source of protein, and fish, especially the midwater varieties, are often prescribed by cardiologists to patients with heart disease. And lastly, of course, completely eliminating fish would destroy people's lives. To see this requires only a glimpse at modern Newfoundland. After the codfish ban in the 1990s, Newfoundland lost its way of life. Not only were the fishermen put out of work, so were the people who processed fish, and the people who marketed fish, and the people who transported fish. Most of the population, in fact, was out of work, supported solely by the money handed out from the Canadian government to help them. The cod never returned to Newfoundland, and life changed. Where there had been cod, there was now crab. The fishermen were not certain if these crab had moved in because of the absence of the predator, cod, or if they had simply always been there, but no one had cared until the cod was gone. Inshore fishermen, who had been getting 18.5 cents a pound for cod, were now getting $1.60 Canadian for crab. Gone were the 30-foot open-deck skiffs from which the inshore fishermen trapped cod. Top of page 80. Now the inshore fishermen drag up their skiffs to lie in the weeds and buy bigger boats to go farther out and set baited traps. The offshore fishermen started crabbing too. The draggers removed the huge spools of net from their sterns and hauled in crab traps on pulleys fixed on the sides of the boats. The fish processing plants were now all crab processing plants, but it was a short season, about 2 months in the summer, and only 25,000 pounds of crab were allowed for each license. Along with the environmental loss, Newfoundland lost its culture. Human beings are part of the natural order, so it's not surprising to find human society follows the same natural laws as biology. Just as species need diversity in order to survive and prosper, it may be that human civilization needs a wide variety of cultures, different ways of life, in order to survive and prosper. We live in a world in which cultures and ways of life are vanishing at an enormous rate. In the United States alone, thousands of family farms are closed down every year, changing the relationship of people to the land, the nature of rural life, and the kind of food we eat. Online shopping is threatening the culture of shopkeepers. The world is losing many of its languages. Only 83 out of 7,000 languages are commonly spoken today, and linguists estimate that a language from somewhere on Earth dies as frequently as every other week. Top of page 81. Many things, not just fish, are in danger of extinction. Fishermen are in danger of extinction. As with animal species, whenever anything is threatened with extinction, it is worthwhile to ask what will take its place. In the case of fishermen, it appears to be tourism. In Newfoundland, that's already happened. The grocery stores and shops in just about every little fishing village have started selling souvenirs to visitors. What kind of souvenirs? Cod, cod hats, cod t-shirts, cod-shaped chocolates, cod-shaped cookies, cod ornaments, and sculptures and business card holders. One line of cod cookies was labeled endangered species. In the ultimate irony, the restaurants that cater to tourists import cod for their menus because when people travel to Newfoundland, they want to eat cod. Top of page 82. When the Parks Department of Canada proposed turning Bonavista Bay, a one-time inshore fishing ground, into an aquatic reserve for tourists, the fishermen rebelled. This is one of the fishermen's most dreaded scenarios, that their boats will end up in museums, and their fishing grounds will be used only for viewing sea life, like the Great African Plains, where tourists go to view animals. The Bonavista Bay fishermen mounted such a vociferous opposition to this plan for their future that the project was dropped. This tension between the tourism and fishing industries Really, a struggle for the character and culture of coastlines can be seen along many of the seasides of the world. Fishing has always attracted people. Many of the most famous fishing ports have drawn artists and writers. One of the most important movements in modern art, Fauvism, began in May of 1905, when French painters Henri Matisse and André Derain went to the Mediterranean anchovy port of Coulières and painted the colorful fishing boats in pure, bright colors. Rudyard Kipling's famous book, Captains Courageous, is about a boy who accidentally serves on a Gloucester schooner to the Grand Banks. And the American classic Moby Dick by Herman Melville starts in the New Bedford and Nantucket whale fisheries. Fishing has always been at the heart of culture of nations with coastlines. Top of page 84. And at first glance, it would seem that tourism and fishing could coexist well. Tourists, like artists, love working fishing towns. But in the conflict between the interest of tourism and fishing, waterfront space becomes a vital issue. Yacht owners pay prices fishermen can't afford for harborfront mooring and dock space. In the end, they compete for almost everything. A world without fishing would be sad. Coastlines would lose their meaning, and coastal people would lose their culture and their primary way of earning money. It was a way of life for thousands of years without destroying the environment. And so governments, fishermen, and scientists need to work together to find a way to fish without destroying all the fish. The goal is to find ways in which fishing can continue while still maintaining large fish populations where many fish are allowed to grow to be very large. If this formula can be found, if the fish populations can reproduce enough so that the new fish make up for the amount of fish taken by fishermen, fishing can continue forever. Page 85. This is called sustainable fishing. This is the real answer to overfishing. The question is, how is sustainable fishing done? For thousands of years, fishing was sustainable, but nowadays, between 100 and 120 million tons of sea life are killed by fishing every year. We have seen that life in the ocean can't reproduce fast enough every year to make up for the loss. So, something must be done.